Welcome, Miss Wright. Round of applause.
Hello, Mustangs. So today, I always feel like any time is the right time for a scary story, but kind of like, we're talking about today, we're going old school. I kind of went old school with my selections today. And scary stories to tell in the dark and more scary stories to tell in the dark. These are oldies but goodies.
So amazing that you brought that out. I mean, like these were when I was in middle school, like first in line. They were always checked out. If you had the Scholastic stuff, they were bestsellers.
They are good. So, they have the usual scary story stuff like, of course, evil cats and haunted mansions, um, forests, zombies, articles of clothing that come to life. So, this is great. And even if you think you are, um, you're pretty tough in a dark room reading these on, one of our dreary Pacific Northwest evenings, I think these would be pretty scary. Also, they're great to read to little brothers and sisters or little cousins if you have visiting, if you want to scare them silly. So, it is the Halloween podcast, but like I said, any time is the right time for a scary story. So, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. Yes. And then more scary stories. And actually, I didn't bring it, but we have Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 3. And
That is hard to find, kids.
yes,
Part three.
and even now there's a new book out. If you saw the advisory um, video called Don't Turn Out the Lights, which is a little tribute book to these, a little updated stories. So, anyway,
What
oh,
I wanted to ask a question too. So, with these books, Miss Wright is bringing up the idea that you can read this to your brother and sister and everything. What I like about these stories is they actually give prompts about how to scare people. So, like when you're telling the story, it says at this point, grab somebody next to you and yell ah, or drop a yeah. Go ahead, Miss Wright. You got to say something so they hear you.
no, I was just going to say that there are also very scary
Louder, louder, louder.
Oh, I should plug in here. Um, there are also very scary illustrations, if y'all can see that crazy looking bat. So, yeah, these are priceless gems. So, we have 2 copies of each in the library and a lot of other scary books as well. So, if you need a scary fix, curbside pickup, our next curbside pickup is November 18th. And I would love to load you down with all the scary stories you can handle.
That's great. Why do you think those books have like stood the test of time? Like you talk to people who are even older than 40 years old, and those are like some of the favorites. My hunch is just that like when you cross over from elementary school to middle school, there's like this bridge where it's like, okay, the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and Arthur's Halloween, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa. And I think a lot of it has to do with the content and the graphic nature of the illustrations, possibly.
They're pretty short too. And so the author knows he has to get in there and scare you and get out. And so I think, they're really well written. Um, and, I think people just, um, especially I think one of the things he does really well is he finds the scary in what's around us. Like you don't have to look very far to see something um, in one of these books that you can relate to, like if it's an article of clothing or an appliance or your cat, just kind of
And especially if the mood is right, the lights are kind of low, your imagination goes a little wild. So, yeah, I think we always like to be scared.
Excellent. Well, thank you, young lady, for coming on our podcast and sharing the books the youngsters are reading nowadays.
Well, I like being called young lady. That doesn't happen very often. So, thank you. And Mustangs, happy reading. Ah, ah, ah.